Companies that are selling branded drugs need to have a reliable and an accurate way of monitoring and recording their prescription growth each month. It can be done, but it tends to be very fiddly, and companies very often have an analyst in the team who will spend a lot of time doing this. Wavedata have actually built a module which sits on top of the English government's prescription data, which does this automatically for you. So the first thing that would happen is if a company decides to subscribe to this data, they would get an email each month looking something along these lines. So they would have a series of graphs in the email showing the sales growth or decline by brands. It would include competitor brands, it would include any generic competitors you're up against. Initially, these graphs in the email would look at the actual quantities, that is usually the tablets or capsules, but it gives a clear view as to what's going on in terms of your prescribing month by month. So that's a quarterly one, and then there's an annual pie chart in this one, and then there's a quarterly breakdown month on month here. So you can see the market's declining, but the brand is increasing. So that's where we've got to with this project. If a company then wants to know, or a user, a salesperson, a sales manager, or a marketing person wants to know more about these prescribing trends, what they can do once they've got a subscription with us is to log in and actually look at these charts online. So at the moment I've got one group of products set up here, but we could go for multiple. So a company that's promoting 5 or 6 different brands could have 5 or 6 different options here, market therapy areas if you like. And the way this works is you've got a series of national graphs that you can see that are updated each month automatically, and you've got a series of territory graphs so that the salespeople can see that. Incidentally, when the salespeople log in, they wouldn't be able to see the national ones. The manager's reports at the top here, they would just see the ones at the bottom, and they'd have their territories pre-selected. But obviously for people in the office, marketing people, sales managers would be able to see the lot and be able to interrogate the territories as well. So if we went into just the first of these, a national one, and we can see what the brand is doing countrywide. So the first thing it does is develop the data, and then it produces the graph. The data is still there down below, and you have a copy button here, so you could actually put it into Excel if you wished and do your own graph. These graphs by default put the quantity in, rather like the emails that you'd get, and you can hover over and actually see what you're looking at, but you can actually deselect things and select other things. So here we've got the actual cost rather than the number of pills, but we could say, okay, let's have a look at the number of prescriptions and get rid of the previous one. So they're very flexible. You can save graphs through this little icon, which allows you to download it as an image or as a PDF or something like that. So that's the first one. Getting back to the control is usually by using one of the tabs. Some browsers mean that you have to click on the actual browser there, and you get a series of selections, and you choose the main one. We call it New Soft here, so it's fairly easy to find. The second of these graphs that we've developed looks at a breakdown territory by territory across England. So first of all, it generates the data, and then it generates the graphs here, which take a bit longer because they're more detailed. Here we're just looking at budesonide, we're looking at the brand here and looking at a comparison there. But again, we've got control. So we could say, let's get rid of those two, and let's actually put quarter by quarter, so we can see which territories are growing and which ones are declining. And you can play around with that. You could do the same for the generic version or the competitor brand. So you can see if a territory is declining for the market, as it were, but increasing for the brand, you know that the salesperson is doing well, and so on and so forth. The other graphs that we've got in here on the national scale are pie charts, rather like that, so you can see market share. This is a quarterly one, but the next one down is an annual one. They are customizable, these things. And the last one here on the manager's side of things is a quarterly breakdown, so it does it quarter by quarter over the last 24 months. So you've got a longer term and a smoothed out image of what's really happening. The territories graph, the territory graphs, you choose a territory. So if we went to W009 and said let's have a look at the territory pie chart, this would be for that salesperson's territory, so they wouldn't have to drill any deeper into it. They'd know what was going on straight away as soon as they get the email, and then they can log in here and play and look at the actual data itself if they wish to. So there we go. So we can see they've got a 30.12% market share there. And the next one is a line graph. Very similar to one or two of the managers ones we've seen previously. There we go. And once again, they can hover over, they can add and remove lines and take things away. So they've got a great deal of flexibility there to actually understand what's going on. So that's an overview of the graphs themselves. If a salesperson then turns around to you, or a manager turns around to you and says, well, I want to get a bit deeper into the data, before they got to the charts, they had to log in to Scriptmap. So that's the link we used previously. If they go further down the page, they find a series of pink lines. Hang on, let's get back down there. Pink lines. These are the groups of products we've actually developed to power the graphs, if you like. So we've got Pulmicort turbohalers here, we've got budesonide powder for inhalation. So say for the budesonide powder for inhalation, we wanted to know what was going on for a particular territory. So we could say, let's go into data for territory. So we'll click on that, let that load. We can then see that W009 South London, Shirley Smith here. Let's click on South London, and it will then break it down further into individual pack sizes if there are more than one, and the individual surgeries. And you can play around with the numbers by ranking columns, by hiding and removing things. So we could just do the 200-100 dose, that's filtered that, and we could then say, oh, we just want to know about that particular surgery and this particular surgery, and then we could download into Excel. So it's very flexible in allowing you and the salesperson to get at the data you need to be able to drive their territories and England as a whole. Thank you very much for listening. I hope this has proved useful to you. If you like the ideas and some of the images you've seen, give me a shout. I'd be delighted to hear from you. My name is Charles Joinson and I'm the Managing Director at Wave Data. Thank you.